Most robberies aren't like you see them in the movies. They're small-scale efforts with a crew looking to make it big and go home, not hold up a whole bank in a grand display. However, some of these robberies are anything but routine. In fact, they're sometimes downright disturbing. Today we have some of those clips, some of the worst, most terrifying robberies the internet has to offer. There were witnesses in some cases and injuries in others, but in all of these clips, something really went wrong. You'll want to stick around and see what we have in store today. ATM robbery caught on camera. These men really thought that they'd gotten away with their heist. In the dead of night, they hooked up their truck to an ATM and used the car to bust it open. It worked, but only for a while. As the men escaped the scene of the crime, they likely had no clue that they were being recorded and documented and would soon be hauled off to be held accountable. The rest of the clip is the resulting fallout of that behavior, the near immediate arrest by quick-acting police officers from Orange County. There isn't much to this clip, except for their arrest, but it just goes to show that even when you think you're getting out scot-free, you can't account for everything. Armed robbery outside bank. Those little mirrors in front of the ATM are definitely for your safety. Honestly, whether in the middle of the night or the light of day, you need to stay aware of your surroundings and be prepared. When the armed assailant approached him, the 57-year-old man didn't see it coming. With a gun pointed at your back, would you act any differently? The chilling surveillance video catches the incident as the man in the black hoodie rounds up behind the unsuspecting victim, right as he puts his card into the ATM. You can see the gunman dictating just how much money he needs to take out and give him. All of this could have been avoided if he'd just been aware of what was going on behind him. What do you think? Could this have been avoided, or would it have been too late already? Laundromat rushed by armed assailants. Small businesses are always at risk of a robbery, especially ones that deal in cash. This laundromat is no exception in its location in South Memphis. Two men make their way quickly into this Oh Joy laundromat, armed as they rush into the place. There was only one person on shift that night as two men covered from head to toe came rushing into the location with their guns drawn. One of them seemed to be packing serious heat. A rifle, of all things. The actual clip is short, but you can only imagine the terror of knowing your shift is not going to go quite as you planned. In fact, this would be a truly excellent reason to go ahead and find yourself a new job. At least most people might consider it at this point. Mid-haircut barber robbery. Maybe an unconventional location, but this barber was subject to a robbery in the middle of the day. Unsuspecting, the man is able to walk in unannounced. He begins showing off his weapon, threatening the barber, and has him throw everything of value into a plastic bag. The barber is as compliant as he can be, giving him what looks like his wallet and everything else in sight. Just moments before he makes his escape, the barber makes a grab at him. He grabs something right at the end that maybe the man didn't want to lose. In all, he manages to get away with approximately $30,000 worth of stolen goods and money, running off onto the Bronx streets. I'm not sure if you'd continue your haircut at that point of the day or call it a day. In fact, shut the whole store down at that point, maybe. Not sure I'd be comfortable continuing, not to mention what he might have stolen. If he also stole the client's wallet, could he even pay for a haircut? That would be a brilliant inside job. Ring camera catches mugging. When you're going home, your defenses might be a little down. This man in particular doesn't seem to know anything is coming. The video opens up as the ring camera catches a man and two women embracing at what is likely the end of their night. Suddenly, from behind the cars, a man comes in. He waves his gun around, threatening them with it as he demands their money, wallet, and more. Nobody seemed to get hurt, and hopefully they could call for help soon after, or at least support after what they'd been through. Surveillance catches armed burglary. Some people don't like having surveillance cameras in their home. However, in this case, they caught what a pretty thorough break-in by a few people was, and probably were saved by this footage to begin with. How else could you prove a bunch of men smashed in your door after jumping over a fence? The man who was burglarized had had this happen before, learning from his first experience and covering his property in surveillance.
I already had a break-in 2 months ago. I was already kind of hyper-vigilant about it.
The men used a rock, breaking into the house with a rock and spending roughly 3 minutes stealing from the homeowner. A jewelry box, a laptop, and a few other items later, he's not sure what to do next.
It makes you wonder if they're watching, monitoring, and it's kind of stalking. I don't know.
Clearly this is a pattern of behavior, and even a gated community like this isn't safe. CCTV catches daylight burglary. Burglars are sometimes brazen with their acts. These two men felt confident enough, armed with a crowbar, to pop off the window and break into this small residence without even the cover of night. We can see the man begins working off the window frame, careful not to break the window, before stopping himself to just go ahead and make sure no one was watching. Slowly he scans the area, seemingly having heard something, before his accomplice comes up through the side. The two of them work their tools to pop off the window frame, slow and steady. If they move too quickly, they might make too much noise or break the glass altogether. It takes roughly 2 minutes for them to get the window pried open enough to make their way into the building. In a smooth movement, the burglar hoists themselves up and through the window. Imagine being the neighbors at home when all of this is happening, but chances are no one even caught on. It was so quiet, so smooth, they probably would have gotten away with it. Robbed twice in one night. You don't need a weapon if you have a massive truck that works just the same. This liquor store was rammed into by a burglar's Hummer. They broke in, planning to steal an ATM. However, it was bolted into the ground, so they had to take less traditional means to make it happen. They smashed into the side again until they believed it was dislodged, using a chain to no avail. However, they were able to break it apart after a few attempts. The suspects got away, along with another burglary soon after. Upon watching security cameras, they found that a second robber made their way into the busted side of the building, then went through the insides. Hopefully the owner's insurance was going to cover it, because as far as losses go, this was a big one. Wordless bank robbery. Of course, someone has to work at the bank, but it would be terrifying as far as workplaces go. With the amount of money these people handle, it's surprising these crimes don't happen more often. The woman in the video shows what looks like to be a young woman who calmly approaches a Comerica bank. She walks up to the bulletproof glass with a piece of paper, which demanded money or else. She claimed to be armed with a bomb, and slowly left on foot after. The whole situation was done and dealt with in just a matter of minutes. Whether she was actually armed with a bomb or not, the teller's actions quickly diffused the situation, and nobody was in danger, so to speak.
They have to handle things based on what their company protocol is, and so she did what she was trained to do and handled it appropriate. And because she did that, then there was not any threat to any other customers inside the location.
It really goes to show that you can be threatening without saying a single word, and sometimes even if you look like a teenager like this woman did. The bank offered a $200,000 reward to catch this criminal, but she did well enough to get away without too much notice. Seasoned criminals rob a bank. When the FBI gets involved, you know it's bad. This bank robbery in Coral Springs was bold and dangerous for everyone involved. The camera catches two men in the middle of a textbook operation. They move quickly with no hesitation as they run into the bank. One man jumps over the counter, then allows the other man in. There was enough time for them to make it in, but the credit union employee couldn't react quickly enough. She's rushed in by her assailant. They take enough money to clear out the vault and then run out. They get away, dumping one car, only to quickly switch and go to their real car, which was also caught on CCTV.
These guys had the plan from the beginning to get to the vault, and usually that uses a little bit more violence. There were some threatening words said.
These men likely stole enough money to just hunker down and lay low, and are being accused of orchestrating a string of robberies of the likes the FBI agents haven't seen before. Unlike a lot of the ones in today's video, these men were like in the movies. It's terrifying to know that they might have gotten away with it. CCTV catches McDonald's burglary. Sometimes you and I can take a sharp turn in the middle of things. This happens a lot at fast food places. A man walks in his white hoodie and begins a transaction with the cashier. Once the register is open, the McDonald's cashier is surprised as the assailant waves his knife at him, pointing it directly at the cashier. As all fast food employees are taught, your till is not worth your life. The employee backs up, allowing the suspect to reach forward, over the counter, and remove all the money from the cash drawer. A second employee comes up right as the suspect darts back through the exit, dropping money on his way out. At most, we're looking at about $100 to $200 in the cash drawer, but the skill and speed he enacted his heist makes it probably worth his effort. It might not be a lot of money, but he got in and got right back out just as quickly. What do you think is worth it for what's essentially chump change? Low-stakes burglary. Burglaries don't always happen in the dead of night. Sometimes it's at the crack of dawn. At just 2 in the morning, the CCTV camera caught the actions of a burglar right as they scoped out his location. He walks up to a house, reading a banner, slowly ensuring he's all clear. He then circles around the location, finds an entry point, but is quickly joined by a second set of people. The robber makes his way into the catering box, stealing what he can, which was to say, not very much. He steals about 50 euros, which doesn't seem worth all the trouble. Nottingham's smoothest criminals. Some of the most terrifying crimes are handled calmly and without emotion. The robbers in this situation make their way into the house without issue, covered from head to toe. They slowly move into the living room, not aware that they're being filmed. Calmly, they begin discussing what they plan on stealing. There's a method to it. Nothing too big, only things they can pick up and walk out without issue. They make a second round on their way in, coming back for more stuff. The sterile way they make their way through the house, their practice movements, it's unclear whether these men have done this before, but it's hard to imagine it's a first-time job. This is a good, clear instance where they not only should have properly locked up before closing down for the night, but maybe an alarm? Either way, this house wasn't protected, and as people are known to do, someone found a way to take advantage of it. In this case, these men knew what they were doing, and more importantly, how to do it right. Truck employee ambushed. Armored vehicles are both uniquely protected and vulnerable, because on the one hand, the drivers are often doubled up and armed. On the other hand, however, they cover quite a bit of distance with quite a bit of money. This clip captures the moments where a bunch of men pile out of their cars with massive machine guns, waiting for the car to be unlocked so they can pile in and steal everything. They move very quickly, and very much ready when things need to move. The driver, a mother of 3, was pushing a cart filled with money from the bank. With her hands in the air, she was forced on her knees as the other 2 men helped themselves to over $100,000 from the truck. The whole situation garnered a lot of attention, all the way up to the FBI. This Colorado driver was fired after the incident, as there's usually fail-safes in play to keep things from happening that clearly did fail. Before the last clip, since you watched up until this point, why don't you consider subscribing to the channel? We upload 2 new creepy, disturbing, and downright scary videos every week, so stay up to date with our latest releases by getting those post notifications. If you enjoyed this one, we have plenty more for you on the channel, so you won't want to miss a single one. ATM bombing in South Africa. Imagine looking out the window of your room only to see a bomb going off. This insane robbery took place in just a few minutes, with some explosive results. In the dead of night, this crew, covered nearly head to toe, sets up their explosives around the ATM. They stand around for just a few moments from a safe distance, and you suddenly see the corridor light up. The explosives go off and the men mobilize. It's all very smooth and practiced, like these men are professionals. The men swarm into the blast zone and quickly run out. This might seem like an extreme, but it certainly did work. Effortless, almost, in a truly terrifying sort of way. How would you respond if you knew this was going on? Call the police, or keep your head real low? One is valiant, while the other is way safer.